What's going on, guys? So it's been a busy day in Moscow, Idaho. We had an update from the police department, and we have an exclusive article with Steve Goncalves from Fox News, Rebecca Rosenberg. We're going to read Rebecca's article, what Steve had to say about the manner of death, the wounds, how they were different, what he thinks about the police department, apparently. We're going to go through that. I'm going to give my thoughts on that. Then we're going to go over to the police video that they released today, their update. I'm going to give my thoughts on what they have to say. And we're going to address what I think about the online sleuth community getting involved in the case, whether it's good or bad or what, how I take what the police have been saying. The rumor online is that the police are getting ready to press charges on anybody who's been speculating. But obviously that's not the case because that's not the way the law works. What they really said matters. And what they really said, I wholeheartedly agree with. So let's not waste any time and let's get right into it. Alright, so let's start with this article from Fox News. Kaylee's dad gave an interview to Rebecca Rosenberg, and he had a lot to say. Now, let's go through the article, and we'll comment on what needs to be commented on. The headline of the article: Idaho murders. Father of slain victim says she had big open wounds. Calls police cowards. 4 weeks have passed since the stunning quadruple homicide, and Moscow, Idaho police have yet to name a suspect. By Rebecca Rosenberg, Fox News. The father of slain University of Idaho student Kaylee Goncalves told Fox News Digital that the victim had big open gouges. They were clearly the work of a sadistic male, and called police cowards for not sharing more with the public. Steve Goncalves said he asked the coroner, Kathy Mabott, how many times the victims were stabbed. She says, "Sir, I don't think stabs is the right word. It was like tears. Like this was a strong weapon. Not like a stab." She said these were big open gouges. She said it was quick. These weren't something where you were going to be able to call 911. They were not going to slowly bleed out, he said. So she didn't think it was really stab wounds was a good way to describe it. It was more like tears. These knives have serrated edges. So if they're slicing, if they're slinging the knife around, it's probably going to be some pretty rough tears on some parts of the skin. And if they stab and they use the knife the way it's designed and they twist it around, that's going to do a lot of damage. So it wouldn't be a situation where it was a long, drawn-out process, it doesn't seem. If the wounds were that bad, big open gouges, they're not bleeding out slowly. Their body's going into shock and failure. At least in that instance, you can think, it didn't last. It didn't draw out for them. We hope that's actually the case, that it went very quick. Kaylee Goncalves, 21, her best friend Madison Mogan, 21, Xana Kernoodle, 20, and her boyfriend Ethan Chapin, 20, were slaughtered in the early morning hours of November 13th in a rental home near campus. Moscow police, working with the FBI and Idaho State Police, have yet to publicly name a suspect or recover the fixed-blade knife they believe was used in the horrific attack that has left the small college town reeling from grief. Goncalves said his daughter's injuries definitely did not match Mogan's wounds. They may have individually died from the same exact thing, being stabbed, but there are more details, he added. They're not even close to matching. The knife slashed open Kaylee's liver and lungs, he said. The grieving father paid for a copy of his daughter's death certificate, which included some of the details of her injuries, but he does not know whether his daughter or Mogan were the targets. I have my own suspicions, he said. It seems like maybe one was just stabbed and the other was more brutally attacked / stabbed. Maybe one was laying in bed asleep and then the other woke up and resisted and moved around and he went a little wild with it. It's hard to talk about that part, but you have to imagine in that scenario, they didn't just lay there and stare at him for the most part. If they didn't hear him coming, then the first probably was super quick, and the other was probably a dramatic affair, a quick couple of seconds where he didn't have complete control until he did. And then the dad paid for a copy of the death certificate, so he got certain information from the death certificate. This is the type of information that I've been talking about. The type of information you have a legal right to. How your family died. What was the extent of the injuries? What was the scene? What went on to the best of your knowledge? That is your right as a parent to know. And I understand why police are keeping stuff close to the vest and holding stuff in and not wanting to let everything out about the case. But certain things parents have a right to know. And if they're not granted that information, then it's a problem. His daughter and Mogan were ambushed in their sleep and found in the same bed, according to the coroner. Goncalves surmised that they died in Mogan's bedroom on the third floor because there are photos of Kaylees' room with no blood on the bed. He felt like it happened in Mogan's bed. The coroner told him that they were found in the same bed, and there was photos of Kaylees' bed that didn't have any blood on it. So he deduced from there that they were in Maddie's bed. That's how he knew that information. To everybody who was saying, oh, well, how does he know this and how does he know that? And he's releasing information. He went through and he found that information on his own. That's not information that the police gave him that he leaked. That's information that he has a right to, that he decided to share with the public. He added that his investigators didn't obscure the windows in his daughter's room like they did for the other victims. So when they were going through Kaylee's room, they didn't block up the windows. Nobody was trying to cover up what was really going on in there because that probably wasn't a crime scene. If she was in Maddie's bed with Maddie, then the killer probably didn't do anything in her room. So they were going through looking for clues, for evidence, for whatever, but it wasn't a horrific scene like the other rooms. Although the coroner told Goncalves that the victims died quickly and did not suffer, he said he's not convinced. Kernoodle, who had defensive wounds, and Chapman were found on the second floor of 1122 King Road. It was a hell of a battle going on down there from what the coroner told us, Goncalves said. Mabbitt, when reached by phone, declined to comment on the information she disclosed to Goncalves. So he said there was a hell of a battle on the second floor. So maybe the killer went upstairs, attacked Kaylee and Maddie. That woke Ethan and Xana up, maybe. And while they were coming to check it out, the killer met them in the second floor. Met them in the hallway somewhere, maybe. Something. Who knows? I'm not trying to speculate about how everything happened. But I will tell you this. The pictures that are going around of Ethan make him look like a young high school guy. This man was 20 years old by now. He had grew into his frame. There are several pictures of him that show his size, and he is not a small guy, not a little high school kid. If he was putting up a fight, the person putting up the fight against him had to be pretty strong, especially if they put up a fight against him and Xana. So I don't think the father's way off when he says that this is a male, because if you're that strong that you're taking out a male and a female at the same time, there are not a lot of females who can do that. I know there's the thought that there may be a group, there may be multiple people involved, and that's a possibility, I guess. But I believe it was one person, and I believe it was a male. It seems like Steve believes that too. The coroner told him that the perpetrator was a strong individual, but police have yet to identify the suspect's gender. I got outraged by them not just coming out and saying this was a woman or a man, because they should know by the amount of strength it took to deliver the injuries, he said. They're just being cowards. There are girls walking around the street right now that deserve to know they should be looking out for a sadistic male. I agree completely. If you believe that this is a male, then you should be making sure that women know, hey, there's a guy who, if you bring back to your house, may overpower you and murder you. This is not something that's just, oh, well, it could be a male, it could be a female. If you know how much power had to be exerted, then you know whether it was a male or a female for the most part. If you are watching that crime scene, you're investigating, you have all the pictures, you have all the evidence, you see how everything is laid out, you see how the room is, where the marks are, where the cut marks are, where the blood splatter is, you can pretty well tell a story of what went on there. Of course, it's not going to be perfect, but you can tell a story of what went on there. Police said in a statement that they will not comment on or release specific details of the crime. It is what we must do to preserve the integrity of the investigation, said Robbie Johnson, public information officer for the Moscow Police Department. We want more than an arrest. We want justice. It takes time to do it right. Johnson said police are encouraging good safety practices in general and are not focusing on a specific threat to the community. The University of Idaho's commencement ceremony, held on Saturday, was somber rather than celebratory as the mysterious murders continue to cast a shadow over the small town. A moment of silence was held for the victims, two of whom were slated to graduate.
There's been a lot of speculation about what is the safety to the public right now, or the risk to the public right now. I would just like to add that we should always be vigilant. Certainly we should be vigilant now, but we should make that a way of life for us. We should always be walking with our head up, sticking to lighted paths, and walking in groups if we can. And in addition, letting people know when you've arrived home if you have not made prior arrangements. This is not an indication of a specific elevated risk, but something that we should be vigilant with just in our daily lives.
So, they're not saying that they believe somebody in the area is a killer, even though somebody in the area is definitely a killer. Maybe the killer has left the area. Maybe that's what they believe. Maybe they already have a suspect. Maybe not. We don't know. They haven't told us that yet. But they seem to be saying here that there's no heightened level of threat. You should just always be diligent in what you do. You should always be paying attention. You should always be making sure that your surroundings are safe for you. But that's just a regular note. They're not saying, hey, there's a heightened sense of awareness because of a killer, even though there's a killer on the loose. They're saying just do it all the time. Keep your eyes open. Pay attention. Don't put yourself in a bad situation. The cops say that that's all they're saying here.
Just a quick reminder, please stick to official news releases for information. Tracking down rumors and quelling rumors about specific individuals or specific events that may or may not have happened is a huge distraction for investigators, and oftentimes is the result of social media propagation, and it is very, very frustrating to investigators and hard to stay on track.
There we go. Now, like I've said a few times, I'm not news. I'm giving my opinion on the news. I'm not telling you anything I say is verified unless I tell you this is verified. I always make the difference between my speculation based from facts that we do know that is verified and speculating about what that may mean, what that might have been, how that might have went. But we don't go around making up conspiracy theories and then reporting it as the God's honest truth. If you're doing that, you're wrong. You shouldn't do that because it does make it harder for them. That being said, people are going to talk about the case. People are going to discuss it. People are going to click on videos to watch to get updates from people other than news, other than the police department. They speak every once in a while. Other people are constantly putting out this and that. We saw this week that some YouTuber faked evidence of a scream. How scummy of a person do you have to be to go and do something like that and put that out? For what? When I'm talking about this, I'm talking about it from my perspective, what I think. I'm not talking about it just to get clicks and views. I make these videos and I post them because I want to talk to you guys about it. I'm not going to go fabricate something. If I speculate on something, I tell you it's speculated. There's a huge difference in somebody who makes things up just so they can spread it around, and somebody who takes the facts of what is going on and then says, okay, well, this could mean this could mean that, but we don't know. There's a huge difference in that. All we know is what the police tell us, and then we speculate from there. But nothing should be being passed off as a fact unless it's a verified fact. The people who do that are the ones who give us a bad name and cause people to get upset. And then people get upset and they come into comments on videos that have nothing to do with what they're so upset about. But they try to connect any amount of speculation, any amount of discussion. They try to make it into that. I was watching a live stream earlier where somebody was sent a picture of a bloody scene and they didn't show the picture. They literally said out loud, "I'm not putting that on my channel." And then they kind of described, yeah, there's some blood splatter on the wall. It kind of looks like somebody might have slid down the wall, things like that. And then this caller calls in and has the nerve to tell them how disrespectful and gross they are for even describing the scene of the photo that the YouTuber didn't share. Come on, people. Really? I mean, this is true crime. If you're going to get upset over hearing about a bloody scenario, this isn't the genre for you, okay? Now, a lot of people get upset that we're covering it. But what we're doing is we're holding those police's feet to the fire. When they know that we're all paying attention and we're all watching and we're all waiting for information, it makes them feel more pressure to do their job. If we relieve that pressure, that's when cases start to go cold. That's when cops start getting to the point where they're like, yeah, I've been working this for months at this point. I'm getting nowhere. It's going to go over to the corner of the desk and I'm going to work on something that I can make some progress on. We don't want to let that happen. That's why we get on cases and we stay on cases and we demand answers.
Finally, I just want to add that we do have a lot of information, and we are specifically keeping that information safe. We're not releasing specific details because we do not want to compromise this investigation. It's what we must do. We owe that to the families, and we owe that to the victims. We want more than just an arrest. We want a conviction. We owe that justice to Xana, Kaylee, Madison, and Ethan.
I understand what he said. He said they have a load of info, but they're keeping that info to themselves because they don't want to compromise the investigation. Maybe they have a suspect. Maybe they have this whole thing lined out now and they're just trying to figure out how to be rock solid. Hopefully. We can hope, right? But I don't know if that's the case. I think it's more along the lines of they have a lot of information and they don't want to let any of it out because they're not sure what's going to be super relevant and what's not. They don't know what may or may not compromise the investigation at this point because they don't know where they are at this point. We want to think that they've made some progress and they maybe have suspects, or at least they know for sure that the people they cleared were not involved and didn't do it. But we don't know that yet. We don't know that. Hopefully they do. But without them giving us any information, we can't know that. And people are going to talk. So, let me know what you think about this down in the comments below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel to see more, and have a great day.